Hello, all you Elvis fans out there, and welcome to my Media Museum. Today, we're going to start a box of Elvis 45s, and we're starting off right here with Hound Dog, which is a very early one of his, very early hit for him. And it was not his originally, it was recorded by a lady, and it makes a lot more sense if you listen to the lyrics. Singing about you ain't nothing but a hound dog makes a lot more sense coming from a woman than coming from a man. But hey, it worked for him anyways. It was a big hit. And I did not go through and put all these in sequence of the way they came out. I actually kind of put some of them in order that I know. Because there are quite a few here that I don't know and I'm not familiar with. But we're going to have some fun looking at a whole bunch of Elvis 45s. I've got quite a collection of them here. Some of them, aren't wonderful shape. Like, we got a lot of stacking wear. B-side of this Hound Dog was Don't Be Cruel, which is another very well-known Elvis song. And it's not surprising to me at all that a lot of these have so much stacking wear, because you're going back to a time when it was very common for people to use stackers and listen to their 45s in that way, as opposed to one at a time on a turntable like I do now. I don't think I had a stacker either back in my younger days. I used to always just listening to them one at a time on a turntable. But anyways, here we got the second one up. Let Me Be Your Teddy Bear. And I have no idea which of these may be original issues, which ones may be reissues. There's tons of reissues to be had, no doubt. B-side of this one being Loving You. But yeah, Elvis, he was so prolific and had so many great songs over such a long period of time, and so many of them were released numerous times. I'm not even going to venture to guess which ones of these are originals and which ones are reissues. Some of them are clearly marked as reissues. They have dates on them saying when they were originally put out. That's a big clue, big giveaway. So our next one up here is going to be Don't Be Cruel. And you can hardly read that one. It's got so much stacker wear. It's been so worn down. But you know the song. Well. The B-side of this one, oh, look at that. It looks like it's another Hound Dog, but it's so worn, practically worn off of there. But it does look like that is Hound Dog with Don't Be Cruel on the B-side. So I got a duplicate. I thought I went through these and pulled all the duplicates together, but apparently I missed that one. Sorry about that. I'm not going to start over because I've got so many of these, and I do have the bulk of the duplicates grouped together, I believe. Coming up next here, we've got All Shook Up by Elvis Presley with the Jordanaires. Just interesting that it's got another credit on there, the Jordanaires, which I don't think I've ever heard that name before. So not sure if that was a band or just what he was calling his backing band at that particular point in time. B-side of this one's That's When Your Heartaches Begin. I'm also guessing a bit some at the B-sides. If I know the song, I'm calling it the A-side and moving on with a lesser known or not as well known song being the B. I put minimal research into this. The bulk of my research being that my mother was a huge Elvis Presley fan, and I have a lot to thank Elvis for as well, because her father forbid her to listen to Elvis Presley. And she swore that when she grew up and had kids, she would never forbid her children from listening to the music that they wanted to listen to. Well, I think I made her regret that decision just a little bit, because being raised up strict Southern Baptist and not really being into rock and roll, I started bringing home Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, and my dad hated it. My dad was like, "You lucky your mom let you have that in the house, because I wouldn't tolerate it." And he kind of got overruled by Mama on that one. He wasn't around much anyways. My early years, he was in Vietnam, a couple tours, and then he went to work one day and never came home. So Dad wasn't around much in my life anyway. So Anyways, we've got All Shook Up here, which is a very well-known Elvis. But I want to tell one more little story about my childhood. B-side here, That's When Your Heartaches Begin. And I think I recognize that one too, as being a Elvis song I'm familiar with. But yeah, I could always do that Elvis snarl. I could, curl my lip up, the little snarl thing he did there. And my parents used to think that was just absolutely hilarious. So as far back as I can remember, I was little, 4 or 5 years old. They'd have company over, they'd roll me out and say, "Do Elvis," and I'd shake my hips a little and do a little snarl, and everybody would laugh, and just go back to your room, So they used to really use me to get a laugh out of their friends by having me do my Elvis impersonation, and which I can still do. All right, here we got Heartbreak Hotel, and on the B side of that one is I Was the One. So yeah, I have all the Elvis movies. I'm not a tremendous Elvis fan, but I am an Elvis fan. I did like a lot of what Elvis did. I could do without his gospel recordings and the really country and western stuff. Excuse me. But I did like Elvis. I used to watch the Elvis movies with my mom. I have every one of them that's been put out on DVD. Maybe someday I'll make a video of all of those. I have thought about doing it, just haven't gotten around to it yet. But here's That's All Right, and That's All Right Now Mama. I think that was his first recording, or one of them. I seem to remember a story about him recording that for his mother and taking it home to her, because you used to be able to go to a recording studio, pay a minimal amount of money, and record a song and have it, on a 45, a wax platter that you could take home that same day. And it says recorded in 1955, so that's another clue here that this is a reissue, not an original. And the B side of it being Blue Moon of Kentucky, which is another well-known song, also noted as being recorded in 1955. So I'm sure those stories are on Wikipedia. Those stories are there about Elvis's first recording and what was whether or not it even had a B-side, because it isn't uncommon back then for you to go in, record a song, get a wax, and it's just a one-sided platter. But maybe he did record 2 songs. Maybe there were 2 on it. I just don't know. But I do remember this story about him recording a song for his mother, and that's how it all kind of sort of began. This one here, Love Me Tender, that was, I think that was his first movie, or one of his very first movies. And Love Me Tender was definitely from that soundtrack. It even notes it here, if you can see, from the 20th Century CinemaScope production, Love Me Tender. So, but I do seem to recall, I do think that was his first movie. I think it was Love Me Tender, then Loving You, and then Jailhouse Rock. Something along those lines. I don't even have them on the shelf in order, because a lot of them I got in multi-sets where there's 2-on-1, or in the case of MGM movies, 8 movies in a box. So they're stacked on the shelf in the best order that I can. And that's why I seem to remember that Love Me Tender was the first one. I know Loving You was the second, and I'm pretty sure Jailhouse Rock's the third. I know Change of Habit with Mary Tyler Moore was his last film. But anyways, getting back to, I'm having a hard time focusing on looking at the 45s, and I'm doing a lot more talking in this video. But B-side being Any Way You Want Me. And I will run out of stories and focus a lot more on the disc as we move on. Now, here is another copy of Love Me Tender. It's got a horribly bad shaped label, but I wanted to show you because you can see the difference in the print. See how much larger that is? That's a smaller font there. It's larger here. So this is clearly a different printing, probably a later one. They probably had the smaller print originally and then beefed it up, made it a little bigger on the second printing. I had these 2 in here back to back intentionally to show you the differences between them. And now we can move on to, because they both have the exact same B-side. Obviously, I did show you that. Now we can move on to the next one, being Blue Moon, which was another Elvis song that I remember well from my childhood. And the B-side of that was Just Because. And when I was doing my impersonations, it was often the Christmas song, you know, all of a blue, a Christmas without you. And like I said, I can really snarl that lip up just like he did. Shake the hips. Did I show you the B-side of that being Just Because? I'm getting distracted with stories. But Blue Moon had Just Because on the B-side of that. And this next one up is Moody Blue, which isn't one of his songs that I'm tremendously familiar with. And the B-side of that being For the Heart. But you can see this is a gold standard. So this is definitely one that was reissued. Also has recorded February 5th and 6th, 1976. Oh my, so we're definitely later here. If it's recorded in 76, geez, was it 77, 78 when he passed away? I know it was sometime in the late 70s, because I remember coming home from school that day. They interrupted, I think I was watching Gilligan's Island, and they interrupted it with the news special report that Elvis had died, and my mom come home and cried all night. So I do remember the day, I just don't remember specifically what day it was. But the point being, that it recorded in 76, this is definitely one of his later recordings, close to the end. So we're going to wrap this episode up here. We got a nice red RCA sleeve here, one that matches. So oftentimes they don't, because people put them in their jukeboxes and then just throw them back in sleeves when they take them out without matching them back up. But Shake, Rattle, and Roll, I definitely know that song, and I'm sure you do as well. And the B-side having Lottie Miss Claudie on there, which I think Steppenwolf did a cover of that one even. I do seem to recall Steppenwolf doing that one. It was an old classic blues standard. And here again, we've got a recorded February 3rd, 1956. So this is also clearly a reissue. And Shake, Rattle, and Roll. Can't really read it, but I think it says February of 56 too. So come on back for part 2 if you love Elvis and want to see some more.